What separates those who stay stuck versus those who rise above? We all have hardships, difficulties, and challenges in life, but we have two options. You can either be a victor or you can be a victim, but you can't be both. In this episode, we're breaking down how your mindset dictates your reality and determines whether you stay stuck or you take control of your life. So if you're feeling stuck, resentful, or frustrated with your current circumstances, we're going to give you tools to shift your mindset, to take control, and to walk in victory. Let's go ahead and get to it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Success Spectrum podcast. I'm your host, Kadeem McLean, and today we're talking about victim versus victor. And my question to you is, which one are you going to let win, right? Because the reality is we've all gone through some type of hardship, some type of situation, and I don't want to minimize anything. That's not the point of this episode. We've all been through some type of hardship, a genuine hardship or situation where you felt like a victim. And we have to accept that, right? It's necessary to accept the pain and the hardship that came along with that. I'm not minimizing it. However, we also must acknowledge that staying in the victim mentality is a choice. Nothing we can do about what happened. It was a situation, a real situation we dealt with, but we are here now. Staying in the mindset of victimhood is a choice. So what are you going to choose, victim or victor? And let's go ahead and dive a little bit further into that, because there's the victim mentality, which says I have no power over my life. But then there's the victor mentality. And the victor mentality says I went through it. I overcame it, right? I've lived through it. I overcame it. Big difference. And we're going to dive into a little bit about that, as well as these here, which is really the hidden cost of the victim mentality or victimhood, I like to call it, because victimhood keeps you stuck. I'll put it that way. Victimhood keeps you stuck in resentment and blame. And that whole blame game thing, it's a sickness that goes around. And we've all either dealt with it or are currently dealing with it. Blaming others, blaming circumstances and situations, it does not help us at all. We're going to dive into that, right? It gives power to other people and circumstances when you have a victim mentality. The other thing the victimhood does is it prevents you from seeing solutions and taking control. So if you're constantly playing this blame game, have this victim mentality, you have no control over your life, or at least that's what you think and how you feel. So we're going to go ahead and cover all of these things today. But to start, I want to ask you again, I asked you which one are you going to choose, victim or victor? And hopefully by the end of this episode, you have a good idea, because you know where you want to be in life and you know which one will get you to where you want to go. Because again, victimhood will keep you stuck where you are. But with a victor mentality, we can take the steps to get to where we want to go, wherever that might be for you. So my question now becomes, what story are you telling yourself? Because if you really say you want to be a victor, of course you want to be a victor. Everybody does. You want to have a victor mentality. But what are you telling yourself? Are you saying I am a victim of X? Are you saying I lived through and I overcame X, right? God got me through X. What are you telling yourself? Because if you constantly say I am a victim of, you're feeding your brain that you are a victim. You're feeding into your identity that you are a victim. And again, not minimizing situations, but just talking about the mentality and the words we speak into ourselves. If you constantly say I am a victim of, you're telling yourself you are a victim. That's how you're identifying yourself, instead of I lived through this situation. I was listening to a podcast recently, and it was with I believe she was a Secret Service agent. And through 9/11, she kind of she lived through that experience. And she was one of the first responders there, based off of what she was saying in the podcast. That's how I understood it. She was the first responder there. She was in the building. And of course, she saw people, jumping out of the windows, and horrific, very horrific circumstances and environment. However, she doesn't even like to say that she survived 9/11. She likes to say that she lived through 9/11. And one of the reasons for that is I see it again as a victor mentality, because she's not playing a victim to say I went through 9/11 and it was horrific and my life stops there. Because if you stay stuck there, you're not going to move forward and continue to progress in your life. She didn't stay stuck there. Horrific experience, of course, I'm sure. And nobody could really blame her if she stayed stuck there and stayed with the victim mentality. But she has a victor mentality, and she says I lived through it, I overcame it. Not that I just survived it or I'm a victim of 9/11. But she lived through it, and she's doing very well for herself to this day, because she doesn't have that victim mentality, which would have kept her stuck there. So just an example to tell you again, what you tell yourself is so important, right? Because that perspective shift, God got me through, God helped me through, versus look at what happened to me, that will change so much for you. It changes everything. Perspective is everything. The way I also look at it is you're taking responsibility, and the power of responsibility, it's a powerful thing, because you can look at the situation and look at all the situations in your life, all the situations that you claim or you were a victim in, and you'll realize you are the common denominator. What do I mean by that? There's been different situations, different environments, different people, different circumstances. All the other variables can change. The common variable is you. You are in this situation. You are the common denominator. So if you are the common denominator, that means once you realize this, wait a second, I'm in all of these situations, but every other variable changed. That means I can do something about it because I'm in these situations. I have control, a degree, let's say, of control over these situations. So I can change things, change how I operate, how I see things, and that can help to change the situation for my better. Now I can have a sense of control in this situation, right? So you're taking responsibility now because you noticed you are the common denominator for your life. And that is so powerful because now you stop waiting for somebody else to fix a problem or something that you see as a problem because they are in control, right? They're the reason this is happening. They're the reason for this situation. That's you playing the blame game, you playing the victim. Once you play the victim, you are giving them the power because they're the reasons for this. That means only they can fix it versus, okay, let's not apply blame to them or to ourselves, but what can I do about the situation? What can I do? This is the situation, regardless of whose fault it might be. How can I take control? Because I'm here, I'm a part of this. What can I do to shift it for my betterment? To go down the route that I want it to go, to correct the situation, whatever the case might be in your situation. So instead of why did this happen to me, we can ask ourselves, what can I learn from this situation? Because yes, the situation happened. Okay, maybe it didn't work out so great. I'm not a fan of the way it played out. I kind of sat on the sidelines and watched everything happen, even though it had an effect on me, a negative effect. What can I do differently next time? You're not placing blame anywhere, but you're also not being the victim. You're being a victor because you're trying to learn from the situation and make it a better situation next time. And along with this is, again, it's their fault. Instead of saying that, what action can I take? What can I do tomorrow or even now to either correct this situation, or if this situation were to come up again, I now know which steps to take and how to operate. So how do we really shift from this victim mentality to being a victor, to that victor mentality? I'm going to give you 4 steps on how to do that right now. Number 1, own your story. Again, situations happen. Oftentimes, I like to say control the controllables because oftentimes you may not be able to control everything or anything in a situation, but all you can do is control yourself, your reactions to it, right? So own your story, know that things happened, and I understand and I accept that, but you are not what has happened to you. Don't define yourself by these situations that have happened in terms of being a victim. Don't let them define you. Yes, they happened, but you define you. What's your identity? Who do you want to be? And that's why it's so important to have that vision of who you want to be and what you want your life to look like, because you can identify with that versus your past, what has happened. Because the past may not look so great, but the future you have control over. The past is the past. You can't change that. The future, you have a lot of control in what happens in your future. So don't identify with what happened. Yes, accept it, but don't define yourself by it. Move forward with a victor mentality. Puff up your chest a little bit, walk with some confidence because you know where you're going. You know where you've been. And the great thing about this is you've overcome that because you're still here. But now you just move forward knowing where you're going. It's important to know where you're coming from, but where you're going is probably a little bit more important. Right? So start that and start speaking in terms of strength, right? I made it through. God got me through this. As opposed to, that victim mentality. This is what happened to me. I'm a victim of X. Do you have a child in your life who loves to color? A niece, a nephew, a son, a daughter, a neighbor? Remember when we grew up, we did A for apple, B for banana, and so on? There's something new in town. It's going to change generations financially. It's called Money Magic, ABC. This is a financial coloring book. They get fun pictures to draw, to color in. But instead of A for apple, we got A for asset. We got B for budget. We got C for crowdfunding. This is going to, while they're enjoying themselves, teach them the financial terms that we didn't know growing up. The financial terms that some of us still don't know. Financial literacy is key and vital. And instead of learning A for apple, learning A for asset at such a young age, it's going to change their financial mindset into the future. They'll be able to start off ahead of the ball, right? Ahead of the game. So go ahead and get yourself a copy and give this gift. Give the gift of financial literacy to your children and the children in your life today. Go ahead and click that link in the description and get yourself a copy. Number 2, take radical responsibility. And this might be controversial for some people. However, in just about every situation, I'm human, but just about every situation, I do my absolute best. Even if I know I didn't necessarily control the situation, I say to myself, this is on me. It's on my shoulders. I could have done this, that, or the third. Situation could have been different. Okay, cool. Now I know going forward. I don't dwell on it. However, a lot of us will place blame on every other thing and person we can because we are late to an event. So if you're late to an event, you're going to blame the traffic. You're going to blame your toaster because your bread didn't pop on time. You're going to blame the kettle. You're going to blame the oven for not warming up quick enough. You're going to blame the kids. You're going to blame everything and anything you can. And it's crazy. It's really a sickness because, again, I'm human, right? I have to catch myself when these thoughts come. But I'm sure you can already resonate with some of the things I'm saying because for the most part, we've all done it or we all do it. Stop placing the blame. As you place blame on people, circumstances, and situations, you give them the power. You take away your power is another way I can say it. Once you take radical responsibility to say, you know what, Kadeem, this is on me. It's all good. I know what I got to do going forward. Guess what? I take back my power. What could I have done to be on time? Okay, let's think through it. I was late today, but I can wake up earlier. I can go to bed earlier. I can start making my breakfast earlier, right? I can, whatever the case might be, I can look outside to see if there's snow on the car before I leave, right? When I wake up, so I know I have to take 10 more minutes to clean off the snow off the car. So you control the situation. Stop putting blame on other things and situations or circumstances in that situation because it's you. It's your fault you were late. And I'm sorry to give you the hard truth, but it's your fault you were late. You could have fixed the situation. You could have done something to be on time, but you didn't. So I'd like you to catch yourself when you're talking to other people and explaining why you were late. Stop explaining. Excuses sound best to the person who's making them. Stop making excuses. I'm not saying be hard on yourself, but just look at the situation and say, okay, what can I do differently? That's all. And then actually make that difference, right? Make that change so that the next time you're not late. That's all. You can apologize for being late or not, right? Choice is yours, but make that correction at the end of the day. 3, surround yourself with victors, not victims. Because you've heard, birds of a feather flock together. You're the average of the 5 people you hang around in the whole 9 yards. There is truth to this. There's a reason these things have been said throughout time because there is truth to it, as you know. Now, who you listen to will reinforce your mindset. Who and what you listen to be honest, will reinforce your mindset. So choose wisely. Choose what you listen to. They say garbage in, garbage out. So if conversations with your friends, if you're not really talking about anything productive, you're not really going to produce anything productive. Much less you might not produce anything. You might be more of a consumer. And in some area of our life, you got to be a producer, but that's a whole other conversation. An example of this is if your circle blames, you'll do the same. However, if you're talking solutions and you're seeking solutions, you're talking uplifting conversations, higher level, higher mentality conversations, that's what you can produce now because you've been hearing it from your friends and you're likely producing it with your friends. So who you surround yourself with and the things you listen to are vital and important, right? Because you'll adopt the mentality of what's around you. Number 4, change your language. Change your language. I don't even like saying this word, but I'm gonna have to say it for the sake of this example. Stop saying I can't because of, and instead start saying I will despite, right? I will despite this situation. I'm going to do X. I'll get it done. It's okay. And that again helps you to realize there is a way around this thing. Maybe I don't see it yet, but there is a way to still accomplish X despite these situations and circumstances. I can still get it done. Other people have done it. Why can't I? Right? And there's that C word again. So if somebody else can do it, there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to. So these small shifts in words can lead to massive mindset shifts. And the mindset shift, they say your beliefs lead to your thoughts and actions. So what is your belief? What are you identifying with? Do you believe that you are a victim? Because if you believe you're a victim, you're going to have thoughts of victimhood. And it's so crazy because I have people around me who just, again, I love my people, right? Everybody around me, I love them. I love all people. But my point is, you've probably had a friend or a family member. They're just constantly blaming other people, other situations. I was late because of this. I didn't get this done because of that. And the place was closed when I arrived. And I didn't know why would they close so early? Why'd they close so early? Most places are online now, and you can just go online and check what time places open and close. Or you can call them and find out what time they open and close. Why were they closed? You're blaming the place for closing during their or at the end of their operating hours for the day. You should have looked that up and known that. That's on you, my friend. I'm sorry to tell you, but you have people in your circle likely who complain like that. And if you don't, you might be the one who's complaining. You might be the one who's placing the blame. And if you're not, then I'm glad that you have surrounded yourself with victors and you are also a victor. But if you're not there yet, and again, you have those people in your circle, give them grace, but do what you can to maybe help them break through that and maybe send them this episode. Because having that mentality and identifying with that, it's it's a sickness if you ask me. And it always irks my brain a little bit when I hear people talk in these manners. Because why are you talking like that? You know how much power you have? You know how amazing you are? You know how much control you have? You're giving your control to this place and you're playing the blame game. You'll never get anywhere doing that. We all want to elevate. We all want to do bigger and better things in our lives, be better people. We won't be able to if we're playing that blame game. I wrote a book for you, and it's called Wings of Abundance, your strategic guide to uplift and empower you to financial overflow. One thing I like to talk about is the financial map. There's 2 points on any map. One is where you are, and the next one is where you want to go. This book, this strategic guide, will help you to determine where you are and where you want to go, and will also help you to bridge the gap. We talk about money mindset. We talk about the application of all the information that you know about finances and all the information that's in this book for you. There's resources in the back of the book. There's bonus information in there. We talk about how to overcome debt, how to build wealth, generational wealth. There's so many different strategies in here that you can utilize for yourself to get you to where you want to be financially. So again, if this is something that sounds interesting to you or anybody you know, because it's written in a language that even teenagers could read it, go ahead and click that link in the description and get yourself a copy. So quickly to recap, you can either be a victim or be a victor, but you cannot be both. Choose one and choose wisely. Blue pill or red pill. For any Matrix fans out there, your perspective shapes your power. Perspective is everything. What you focus on grows, right? So where you put your focus, that's what grows, right? Where your focus goes, your energy flows is another way that it can be said. Take ownership of your story. Take ownership. That is the key to transformation. Once you take ownership, it's all on me, not to put blame on myself and talk negatively to myself, but I'm giving myself my power back. And now I can step the way I need to step to make certain things happen in my life, as opposed to just going with the wind and letting things happen. Now I'm moving distinctively in a certain direction. I have the power now. My last question to you is, what's one area of your life that you need to take action to get your power back? Drop it in the comments, send me a DM. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear from you. And for anybody who's been coming back here regularly, anybody who's subscribed, I appreciate you and I thank you so much. It's humbling to see everybody who's listening, who's commenting, sharing your story in the comments. I definitely appreciate it. And I'm sure other readers and viewers appreciate it as well, because you're sharing your story and you are helping them to realize that they might not be alone. Some other people might not comment, but they might feel the exact same way you do. So when you comment, they see it, it's helping them. So I definitely appreciate it. And that being said, if this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs it. Share it with somebody who you know might need that mindset shift to go to victor, right, from victimhood. And that is it, everybody. So again, I appreciate you coming back. Anybody who subscribed, commented, liked, Kadeem here, and I'll see you in the next one.